reached by the Post about what seems to be a circumstance in which she is pretending to own a gigantic mansion in Virginia and sort of pretending to be reviving multiple Icelandic airlines that she is not reviving. Reached by the Post, Ms. Edwards declined to comment, saying, quote, "I am not giving media interviews at this time." Why not? The last one went so well. I will tell you that we reached out to Ms. Edwards as well. We have not yet heard back. We live in hope. But, as far as the whole WOW Airlines thing goes, it does kind of make you feel a little bit embarrassed, like nationally. If you know somebody who is from Iceland, right, and they ever relayed this story to you, and especially in terms of what it means in their country, this is like a sad thing to have to explain. Oh, man, I'm sorry it went this way. We have a lot of con artists in our country. I'm very sorry this happened to you. You kind of feel a little like national defense around this. But this woman, Michelle Roosevelt Edwards, in addition to playing a bizarre role in that sort of business pages story and that international relations story and that Icelandic journalism story, she's actually a live wire right now in terms of something going on in our country, thanks to the current Republican Party. I mentioned that the Washington Post this weekend had done some digging on her interview with the Icelandic news crew in the house that does not appear to be hers that she said she owns. Well, here's why the Washington Post went digging that direction in the first place. Quote, late last December 2020, as President Donald Trump pressed senior officials to find proof of election fraud, White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows emailed Acting Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen, emailed him a letter detailing an outlandish theory of how an Italian defense contractor had conspired with U.S. intelligence to rig the 2020 presidential election. The letter was printed under the letterhead of USA Aerospace Partners, a little-known Virginia company. In early January 2021, a second Virginia firm, the Institute for Good Governance, and a partner organization, released a statement from an Italian attorney who claimed that a hacker had admitted involvement in the supposed conspiracy to rig the 2020 election against Donald Trump. According to the conspiracy, which has now become known as Italygate, people working for an Italian defense contractor in coordination with senior CIA officials, they used military satellites to switch votes from Trump to Biden and swing the result of the election. That was all on this letterhead for this little-known Virginia aviation company. What the Washington Post discovered about these two organizations, U.S. Aerospace Partners, whose letterhead was atop the letter that Trump's White House Chief of Staff forwarded to the Attorney General, also the Institute for Good Governance, which was putting out press releases promoting the Italygate conspiracy. Those organizations is that they are both run by Michelle Roosevelt Edwards, who was formerly known as Michelle Ballerin, but changed her name last year. You'll remember U.S. Aerospace Partners. That is the company that bought WOW Air, or at least bought that little model and went to a hotel room in Reykjavik to proclaim that it was going to be flying again. Apparently, that company and its founder have a side business in promoting crazy pants election conspiracy theories. And good to know about her. And if it only went as far as her and like her Facebook friends, okay. But how did the fake mansion bow tie lady's letter about the Italian satellite stealing the election from Trump or whatever, how did that make it into the White House? According to reporting from both the Washington Post and from Talking Points memo, it may have been this woman who you see doing multiple right-wing radio show interviews here. She runs a conspiracy website whose URL is, I kid you not, the web address of her firm is italydidit.com. That's her web address, italydidit. She claims to have gone to a Christmas Eve party at Mar-a-Lago last year after the election, whereupon she had the opportunity to tell Donald Trump personally and directly about the Italygate conspiracy. And the Italygate conspiracy from the lady who pretends to live in that big mansion, who said she was going to revive WOW Air. Yeah. And, you know, at one level, this is like the definition of ridiculous and stupid. At some point, frankly, if you're, feeling empathetic, it implicates sort of personal concerns or even stability concerns about some of the people involved. Scams are one thing, sure, but totally delusional, fantastical thinking and projections of grandiosity and all of this stuff. And you kind of almost start to feel bad for people in circumstances like this. But then you see how this isn't an isolated thing that just makes you worry about the people involved. Then you see how this actually fits into what's going on in the Republican Party right now and what it's done to the whole idea of Republican governance. I mean, these documents that were generated by these companies belonging to the realtor, the bow tie lady who was pretending that the mansion was her house and she's about to launch an Icelandic airline out of thin air in the next 5 minutes. These documents she created ended up getting stovepiped to the very top of the United States Department of Justice. Those documents were sent literally, personally to the Attorney General by the White House Chief of Staff, who was telling the Attorney General that the Justice Department must investigate these things. And as crazy as that is, and as much of a conundrum this now poses for the people who are now in charge of the Justice Department, who have to figure out how much of this trash in their workplace they're going to dig out and how much of it can just lay around stinking and maybe it'll dissolve, right? The fact remains that this kind of stuff is the foundation, is what has led to this fantasy on the right and this pretext in the Republican Party that there was something gravely wrong with the election, right? This is the same level of thinking, the same types of conspiracies created by the people and promoted by the people who are running the cockamamie Arizona fake audit, right? Run by these cyber ninjas. And, I'll just point out one other element of this. The lady with the fake house who said that it was her house and wasn't her house. Remember, she was Michelle Ballerin, and then she was Michelle Lynn Golden, and she's now Michelle Roosevelt Edwards. That kind of thing seems to be a thing among these folks, the adding of impressive old-timey American names to whatever their names started as. At the Arizona circus, one of the key people involved in that, the guy who has the magic secret technology that we're not allowed to see, that's examining the paper the ballots are printed on to show all the fraud that you can see by looking at the paper. I mean, he's gone through a name or two himself in recent years. The most recent iteration of his name uses the word Pulitzer. Most recent iteration of her name in Virginia uses the word Roosevelt. I mean, I'm sure those things make them feel very important. In Arizona today, it was Washington state Republicans from the Washington state legislature who were the latest Republican state officials to tour the Arizona mess in order to try to copy it for their own state. So, get ready. There's probably some QAnon activist renaming himself Einstein in Spokane, Washington right now, who's going to be leading the effort up there because he's got magic technology and tons of money and access to secret intelligence. And have you read my translated documents? It is... Part of me struggles with, is it worth figuring out who all these people are and what it is they're promoting? But then you see how it's being used, and you sort of can't afford not to follow it. It's really, it's something to have to balance, on the one hand, the cheap, low rent, hilarious, bananas, conspiracy, fantasy, con artistry, grift stuff here, right? From Italygate to the QAnon conferences that Mike Flynn is making money at now, to the Arizona Cyber Ninjas thing, to the one they want to do just like that in Georgia. It's one thing to notice how low rent and cockamamie this stuff is, and the grifters and con artists and, forgive me, crazy people who are involved with all this stuff. Balance that, though, with how this is being used by the Republican Party as a whole to justify a mass crackdown on voting rights. Because of the hysteria, the vague and inchoate hysteria that's been bolstered by all of these conspiracies about what nefarious thing happened in the election. This is the stuff that builds the plinth on which the Republican Party is building its current platform. Right? A takeover of election administration procedures for their party alone, wherever they can do it. A draconian and wholesale rollback of voting rights and ballot access everywhere they can control it in the states. But as crazy as all this stuff is, that's what it's being used for. And the Democrats are going to take their biggest shot tomorrow afternoon at trying to stop it, when the Democrats tomorrow bring their big voting rights and election protection bill to the Senate floor for the very first time. And in the Beltway press, expectations are not high for whether or not they are going to be able to pull it off. But it is their best shot at heading off what the Republicans are doing, even though the undergirding and the pretext for what the Republicans are doing lies in territory this insane. What the Democrats are up with that bill tomorrow, it's as real and as dangerous as its pretext is absolutely cockamamie and bananas. And that's where we are.